My name is Loretta Hayes, and I never thought the day would come when my own family would try to steal everything I worked for. But that Tuesday afternoon in March, sitting in my living room across from my daughter-in-law, Shanice, and her mother, Beverly, I learned just how cruel family could be. "Loretta, we're not asking," Shanice said, her perfectly manicured nail pointing at me like a weapon. "We're telling you, you need to sell that condo downtown and give us the money. My brother Kevin is in serious trouble, and you're going to help us fix it." I stared at her, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Excuse me? That condo is mine. I bought it 20 years before I even met Marcus's father. It has nothing to do with this family." Beverly, Shanice's mother, smiled at me from my own couch. That smile made my skin crawl. It was the kind of smile a snake gives a mouse right before it strikes. "Sweetheart," Beverly said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "you don't really have a choice in this matter." I felt my hands start to shake. "What are you talking about?" Shanice leaned forward, and I could see the meanness in her eyes. The same meanness I'd been ignoring for the past 5 years since she married my son Marcus. "Kevin owes $3 million to some very dangerous people, casino debts. If he doesn't pay by next month, they're going to kill him. Do you want that on your conscience? Do you want Marcus to lose his brother-in-law?" "That's not my problem," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Kevin made his own choices. I worked hard for everything I have. That condo represents years of saving and sacrifice. Years before any of you were even in my life." Beverly stood up and walked over to me, still wearing that horrible smile. "Let me explain something to you, Loretta. Marcus is married to my daughter now. That means what's yours is his, and what's his is hers. You're getting older. You're alone. What do you need a second property for anyway? You should be grateful to help your family." "It's not a second property," I said, my voice rising. "It's an investment. It's my security. It's mine." "Was yours," Shanice corrected. "See, I've already talked to Marcus about this. He agrees that you should sell it. In fact, he's going to help us convince you." My stomach dropped. "Marcus knows about this?" "Of course he does," Shanice said, examining her nails like we were discussing the weather instead of $3 million. "He's my husband. We don't keep secrets, and he understands that family helps family, unlike some people." I stood up, my legs feeling weak. "Get out of my house." "Oh, Loretta," Beverly said, shaking her head like I was a confused child. "We're not going anywhere until you agree to do the right thing. That condo of yours is worth about $3.5 million now, isn't it? You sell it, give us the $3 million for Kevin, and you keep the rest. See, everyone wins." "Everyone wins?" I repeated, my voice shaking with anger now. "You want me to give up my property, my investment, my security, so your gambling addict son can pay off debts to criminals? And you think everyone wins?" Shanice stood up too, getting right in my face. "Listen to me carefully, old woman. Kevin is family. You're just Marcus's mother, and if you don't help us, I'll make sure Marcus never speaks to you again. I'll make sure you never see any future grandchildren. I'll turn him against you so completely. You'll die alone with nobody." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stepped back, tears stinging my eyes. "You can't do that. Marcus loves me." "Marcus loves me more," Shanice said with absolute confidence. "And he does whatever I say. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your real estate agent tomorrow. You're going to list that condo, and when it sells, you're going to write us a check for $3 million. Simple. And if I don't, Beverly moved closer to me, invading my space. Then we'll make your life hell. We'll contest your late husband's will. We'll claim you manipulated him when he was sick. We'll drag you through court until you have nothing left but legal bills. By the time we're done, you'll wish you'd just given us the money. I felt my knees go weak and had to sit down. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. These two women in my living room, threatening me, demanding I give up everything I'd worked for, all to save a man I barely knew from his own bad decisions. "Where is Marcus?" I asked quietly. "I want to talk to my son." "He's at work," Shanice said, "but he'll be here for dinner, and he's going to tell you the same thing we're telling you. You're going to sell that condo, Loretta, one way or another." After they finally left, I sat in my living room for over an hour, just staring at the wall. My phone rang 3 times, but I couldn't move to answer it. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. That condo downtown meant everything to me. I'd bought it in 1998 with money I'd saved from working 2 jobs as a young woman. Back then, I was a nurse at County General during the day and cleaned office buildings at night. I wore my fingers to the bone to save that down payment. That condo represented my independence, my strength, my refusal to depend on anyone else. When I met Marcus's father, Robert, in 2003, I'd already owned it for 5 years. Robert was a good man, a kind man, but I'd kept that condo in my name only. It was my safety net, my promise to myself that I'd never be helpless again. Robert had understood. He'd respected it. When he passed away 3 years ago from a heart attack, he left me the house we'd shared, but that condo remained mine alone. It was currently rented to a young family, bringing in steady income every month. It was my retirement security. And now Shanice and Beverly wanted me to just hand it over like it meant nothing. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Marcus. "Mom, we need to talk. I'll be there at 6 for dinner. Please have food ready. Love you." I stared at that text for a long time. Love you? Did he really? Would someone who loved me ask me to give up everything? I went to the kitchen and started cooking. Old habits die hard. Marcus loved my pot roast, so I made pot roast. I made mac and cheese from scratch, the way his grandmother taught me. I made collard greens and cornbread. I set the table like I always did, with the nice dishes and cloth napkins. And while I cooked, I cried. Marcus arrived at exactly 6 o'clock. He let himself in with his key, calling out like he always did. "Mom, something smells amazing," I heard Shanice's voice too. "I told you she'd make a big meal. She always does." They came into the kitchen, and Marcus kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. Like his wife hadn't just threatened me in my own home a few hours ago. "Hey, Mama," he said, using the name he'd called me since he was a baby. "Everything looks so good." We sat down to eat, and for a few minutes, nobody said anything about the condo. We just ate and made small talk. Marcus told me about a project at work. Shanice complained about traffic. It was almost normal, almost. Then, over dessert, Marcus cleared his throat. "Mom, Shanice told me you all talked today." I put down my fork. "Yes, we did." About Kevin's situation. About Kevin's $3 million gambling debt that your wife wants me to pay for by selling my condo, I said clearly. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Mom, I know it's a lot to ask. It's not asking, Marcus. Your wife and her mother threatened me. They said if I don't sell my property and give them $3 million, they'll turn you against me and make sure I never see you again. Marcus glanced at Shanice, who was watching him carefully. Mom, nobody threatened you. We're just asking for help. Kevin is family now. Kevin is a stranger who gambles away millions of dollars, I said. Marcus, that condo is mine. I bought it before I even knew your father. It's my security, my retirement. How can you ask me to give that up? Because family takes care of family, Shanice cut in, her voice sharp. And right now, Kevin needs help. If you really loved Marcus, you'd do this. Don't you dare question my love for my son, I said, my voice shaking. I raised him alone after his father died. I worked myself to exhaustion to give him everything. I put him through college. I've been there for every moment of his life. I love him more than anything in this world. Then prove it, Shanice said. Sell the condo. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him. At 38 years old, my son was a successful architect. He made good money. He had a beautiful home. He had everything he needed. But sitting there at my table, he wouldn't meet my eyes. Marcus, I said softly, look at me. He finally did, and I saw something in his face that broke my heart. Weakness, fear. He was afraid of his wife. Marcus, please don't make me do this, I whispered. That condo is all I have. It's my safety net. If something happens to me, if I need long-term care, if I get sick, that's what will take care of me. You have your own life, your own family now. I can't depend on anyone but myself. Please understand. For a moment, I thought I saw something in his eyes, doubt, maybe even shame. But then Shanice put her hand on his arm, and his face hardened. Mom, Kevin is going to die if we don't help him. These people don't play games. They've already sent him threatening messages. They know where he lives, where we live, where you live. The last part made my blood run cold. What do you mean, where I live? Shanice smiled that terrible smile again. Kevin's creditors are very thorough. They know he has family. They know about Marcus. They know about you. If Kevin doesn't pay, they might come looking for people who can pay instead. Are you threatening me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm warning you, Shanice said. This isn't just about Kevin anymore. This is about all of us. You sell that condo and help us, or we all suffer the consequences, including you. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. Get out, both of you. Get out of my house right now. Marcus stood too. Mom, please. Nozzle, I shouted, and I never shouted. You come into my home, eat my food, and threaten me. You tell me that dangerous criminals might come after me because of your brother-in-law's gambling, and you want me to pay $3 million to make it go away? Get out. Fine, Shanice said, standing and grabbing her purse. But you have until the end of the month to decide. After that, things get very difficult for you, and Marcus won't be able to help you because he'll be too busy protecting his wife. Won't you, baby? Marcus looked torn, but he nodded. Mom, just think about it. Please, we're family. I thought we were family too, I said, tears streaming down my face. I thought family protected each other, loved each other, but I guess I was wrong. They left, and I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by dirty dishes and half-eaten food, feeling more alone than I'd felt since Robert died. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Could they really turn Marcus against me? Could they really contest Robert's will? Were these criminals really dangerous enough to come after me? And the biggest question, what was I going to do? The next morning, I called my best friend Vivian. Vivian and I had known each other since nursing school, over 40 years ago. If anyone would tell me the truth, it was her. "Loretta," she answered, her voice concerned. "Girl, it's 7 in the morning. What's wrong?" I told her everything. The whole horrible story spilled out of me in a rush, and by the end, I was crying so hard I could barely speak. "That girl is evil," Vivian said when I finished. "Pure evil. And Marcus should be ashamed of himself, letting his wife treat you like that." "What do I do, Viv?" "You fight," she said firmly. "You don't give them a single penny. That condo is yours. You call a lawyer right now. You document everything. And you prepare for war because, honey, they've already declared it." "But what if they really turn Marcus against me?" "Then Marcus isn't the man you raised him to be," Vivian said sadly. "But I have faith in that boy. He's confused right now, blinded by that woman. But he'll come around. In the meantime, you protect yourself." I called a lawyer that morning. His name was Theodore Thompson, and he'd handled Robert's estate when he died. Mr. Thompson was a distinguished black man in his 60s, with a reputation for being tough but fair. "Mrs. Hayes," he said after I explained the situation, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. Under no circumstances should you sell that condo or give these people any money. That property is yours, purchased before your marriage, and no court in the land can force you to sell it to pay someone else's debts." "But they said they'd contest Robert's will." "Let them try," Mr. Thompson said. "Your husband's will was ironclad. I made sure of it. They have no grounds." This is intimidation, pure and simple. And if these threats continue, we can pursue harassment charges. "What about the criminals?" I asked. "The people Kevin owes money to?" Mr. Thompson was quiet for a moment. "That's a more serious concern, but Mrs. Hayes, even if these people are real, and that's a big if, you paying Kevin's debts doesn't guarantee your safety. In fact, it might make you a target. They'd see you as a source of money. No, the right move is to let the police handle it, if there are actual threats." I felt a tiny bit of relief. "So you think Shanice is bluffing?" "I think Shanice is a manipulative woman who sees you as an easy target," Mr. Thompson said, "but she's about to learn that you're not as easy as she thinks. I'm going to send you some paperwork. I want you to sign a few documents that will protect your assets. And Mrs. Hayes, don't talk to Shanice or her mother without a witness present. Record every conversation if possible. We're building a case here." Over the next week, Shanice called me 12 times. I didn't answer. She sent text messages, each one more threatening than the last. Beverly showed up at my door twice. I didn't let her in. Marcus called too, his voice strained. "Mom, please just talk to Shanice. She's really upset." "She's upset?" I said. "Marcus, she's trying to steal everything I have. How can you not see that?" "It's not stealing, it's helping family." "No, son. Stealing is taking something that doesn't belong to you. And that condo belongs to me, not to Shanice, not to Kevin, me. The Sunday before the end of the month, I went to church like I always did. I'd been going to New Hope Baptist for over 30 years. Pastor Williams had married me and Robert. He'd baptized Marcus. These people were my family too. After service, Pastor Williams pulled me aside. "Sister Loretta, you haven't been yourself lately. Want to talk about it?" I almost said no, but then I looked at his kind face and thought, why not? So I told him everything. Pastor Williams listened carefully, his expression growing darker with each word. When I finished, he shook his head. "Sister Loretta, what that young woman is doing is not just wrong, it's evil. She's using fear and manipulation to steal from you. That's not family, that's theft. But what about Marcus? He's my son. I don't want to lose him." "You won't lose him," Pastor Williams said. "But right now, he needs to learn a hard lesson about standing up for what's right. And you need to stand firm. Don't let them bully you." That evening, as I was getting ready for bed, my doorbell rang. It was late, almost 10 o'clock. I looked through the peephole and saw Marcus standing there, alone. I opened the door. "Marcus, what are you doing here so late?" He looked terrible. His eyes were red, his face drawn. "Mom, can I come in?" We sat in the living room, and for a long time neither of us spoke. Finally, Marcus said, "Mom, I need you to know something. I love Shanice. She's my wife. But I also love you. You're my mother, and I'm being torn apart here." "Then don't let yourself be torn," I said. "Do what's right." "But what is right?" he asked, and he sounded so young, so lost. "If I don't help Kevin, Shanice will never forgive me. She'll make my life hell. But if I push you to sell the condo, I'll never forgive myself." I don't know what to do. I took his hand. "Marcus, let me ask you something. If I sell that condo and give Shanice $3 million, what happens to me if I get sick? What happens when I'm too old to live alone? What happens if I need care?" "You'd live with us," he said, but he didn't sound confident. "Would Shanice let me?" I asked gently. "Be honest." Marcus looked down at our joined hands. He didn't answer, and that was answer enough. "That condo is my security," I said. "It's all I have. And son, I need you to hear this. Even if I had $10 million, I still wouldn't give it to Kevin. He made his choices. He gambled away money he didn't have. That's on him, not me. And if these dangerous people are real, paying his debt doesn't make me safe. It makes me a target." "I never thought about it like that," Marcus said quietly. "Because Shanice doesn't want you to think about it," I said. "She wants you to react emotionally, not logically. She's using fear and guilt to manipulate both of us." Marcus stood up abruptly. "I need to go. I need to think." "Marcus," I called as he headed for the door. "I love you. No matter what happens, I love you. But I won't be bullied, not even by you." He left without saying anything, and I watched his car pull away, my heart breaking. The next day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mrs. Hayes," a rough male voice said, "this is Danny Chen. I believe your daughter-in-law has mentioned me." My blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "I'm the man Kevin Wright owes $3 million to," he said calmly. "And I'm calling to let you know that unless that money is in my hands by this Friday, there will be consequences, not just for Kevin, for everyone who refused to help him. That includes you, Mrs. Hayes." The phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. "You're threatening me?" Danny Chen laughed, a cold sound that made my skin crawl. "I'm informing you, Mrs. Hayes, Kevin made promises he couldn't keep. He used your family name as collateral, said his new mother-in-law was loaded and would cover his debts. So yes, I'm informing you that this is now your problem too." "I don't owe you anything," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Kevin's debts are his own." "That's where you're wrong," Danny said. "See, Kevin signed papers that mentioned you specifically. Your condo downtown, your address, everything. So when he doesn't pay, I come collecting from the family that promised to back him up." "I never promised anything." "Take it up with Kevin," Danny said. "You have until Friday, $3 million, cash, or things get ugly for everyone involved." The line went dead. I sat there for a full minute, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. Then I did what I should have done from the beginning. I called the police. The officer who came to my house was a young black woman named Officer Simmons. She listened to my story, took notes, and looked sympathetic, but not particularly hopeful. "Mrs. Hayes, I'm going to be honest with you," she said. "Unless this Danny Chen makes a direct, provable threat against your life, there's not much we can do. Debt collection, even aggressive debt collection, isn't usually criminal." "He threatened consequences," I said. "He knows where I live. Did he specifically say he would hurt you?" I thought back. "Not in those exact words." Officer Simmons nodded. "That's the problem. These guys are smart. They imply threats without making them explicit. But I'll file a report. If he contacts you again, record the conversation if you can. And Mrs. Hayes, don't pay him. Debt collectors like this, once they know you'll pay, they never stop coming back." After Officer Simmons left, I called Mr. Thompson. "Mrs. Hayes, this changes things," he said after I told him about Danny's call. "I'm going to hire a private investigator. I want to know exactly what Kevin's situation is, who this Danny Chen really is, and what documents, if any, actually exist. Don't be surprised if this whole thing is a scam." "A scam?" "Think about it," Mr. Thompson said. $3 million in casino debt? That's an enormous amount. Most casinos cut people off long before they reach that level. And legitimate casinos don't send threatening phone calls. They use legal channels. This smells wrong to me. But Kevin is a real person, Shanice's brother. "Oh, I'm sure Kevin has debts," Mr. Thompson said. "But $3 million? And these mysterious, dangerous people? I think someone is lying to you, Mrs. Hayes. The question is who and why." That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about what Mr. Thompson said. What if this was all a lie? What if Kevin's debt was much smaller, or even made up entirely? What if Shanice and Beverly were running a con? The next morning, Vivian showed up at my door with coffee and determination. "Okay, I've been doing some research," she said, pulling out her laptop. "And girl, you need to see this." She turned the screen toward me. It was Kevin Wright's social media page. Kevin, a thin man in his early 30s with flashy clothes and an even flashier lifestyle. Photo after photo of him at clubs, restaurants, casinos, always smiling, always surrounded by people, always looking like he had money to burn. "Look at the dates," Vivian said, pointing. "These were all posted in the last month. Does this look like a man running from dangerous debt collectors?" She was right. In the most recent photos, from just 3 days ago, Kevin was at a casino in Atlantic City, champagne bottle in hand, laughing with friends. If he owes $3 million to people who threatened to kill him, Vivian said, why is he still gambling? Why isn't he hiding? Why is he posting his location online for everyone to see? My phone rang. It was Marcus. Mom, we need to talk. Can I come over? 20 minutes later, Marcus sat in my living room, but this time he looked different, scared, confused. Mom, something's not right, he said. I went to Shanice last night and asked to see proof of Kevin's debt. Bank statements, casino records, something. She got really angry, said I was doubting her, that I was choosing you over her. We had a huge fight. What did she say exactly? She said if I didn't trust her, maybe we shouldn't be married, Marcus said, his voice breaking. She said I was being controlled by my mother, that I was weak. Mom, I've never seen her like this. It was like she became a different person. Or maybe, I said gently, you're seeing who she really is. Marcus put his head in his hands. I tried calling Kevin to ask him about the debt directly. He wouldn't answer. I drove to his apartment. He wasn't there. Mom, what if this whole thing is fake? What if they're lying? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. I opened it and felt my blood run cold. It was a photo of me, leaving church on Sunday. Someone had been following me. The text below read, "Nice service, Mrs. Hayes. Hope you're praying about making the right decision. 3 days left." I showed Marcus. His face went pale. Mom, this is serious. We need to call the police again. Already did, I said. They can't do much unless there's a direct threat. Then we hire security. We do something. I'm not letting anyone hurt you. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. My son was finally standing up. Marcus stayed with me that night, sleeping in his old bedroom. The next morning, Mr. Thompson called with news. Mrs. Hayes, my investigator found something very interesting, he said. Kevin Wright does have gambling debts, but they total about $50,000, not $3 million. And they're owed to legitimate casinos, not to any Danny Chen. In fact, there's no record of anyone named Danny Chen connected to Kevin or any casino in this region. I sat down heavily. So it's all a lie? It appears so, but it gets better. I had my investigator look into Shanice and Beverly's finances. Beverly filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago. She owes over $200,000 in credit card debt. And Shanice? She's been borrowing money from multiple payday loan companies. Between the two of them, they're drowning in debt. So they wanted my condo to pay their own debts, I whispered. That's my theory, Mr. Thompson said. Kevin's gambling problem gave them the perfect cover story. Make you feel guilty, make you feel afraid, and get you to hand over $3 million. They probably planned to take the money and run. I felt sick. But the phone call from Danny Chen, the photo. Probably Beverly's boyfriend or some friend playing a part, Mr. Thompson said. We're tracking the phone number now. Mrs. Hayes, I think we have enough to press charges for attempted fraud and extortion. When Marcus came downstairs, I told him everything. He listened, his face getting harder with each word. I'm going to Shanice right now, he said. I'm getting the truth. Marcus, be careful. No, Mom, I've been careful. I've been quiet. I've been trying to keep the peace. But she tried to steal from you. She threatened you. She lied to me. This ends now. After Marcus left, Vivian came over again. "Girl, I heard from Sister Patterson at church. She said Beverly's been bragging to her poker group about coming into money soon. Said she was going to move to Florida and live the good life." "Her poker group?" "Beverly gambles too," Vivian said. "Has for years. Apparently, she and Kevin both have the same problem. And they've been using Shanice to fund their habit by having her marry well." The pieces were falling into place. Shanice hadn't married Marcus for love. She'd married him because she thought he came from money. She'd been planning this from the beginning. My phone rang. It was Marcus, and he was yelling, "Mom, you were right about everything. I confronted Shanice, and she admitted it. All of it. Kevin's real debt is only $50,000. They made up the rest. They faked the threats. They were going to take the $3 million and disappear. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I could hear crying in the background. Shanice is screaming at Marcus. "Where are you?" I asked. "At our house. I told her I want a divorce. She's losing her mind. She's threatening to destroy everything I own. Mom, what do I do?" "Get out of there," I said. "Come home. We'll figure this out together." But before Marcus could respond, I heard a crash, then Shanice screaming, "You're not leaving me. I'll burn this whole house down before I let you leave me." "Marcus," I shouted. "Marcus, get out of there right now." The line went dead. I called 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. "My son is at his house with his wife, and she's threatening to burn it down. Please send someone." I gave them the address and grabbed my keys. Vivian grabbed hers too. "I'm coming with you." We drove faster than we should have, my heart in my throat the whole way. When we pulled up to Marcus and Shanice's house in the suburbs, I saw smoke. Black smoke pouring from the garage. Marcus was on the lawn, coughing, his face covered in soot. Neighbors were already calling 911, and Shanice was standing in the driveway, holding a gas can, screaming at the top of her lungs. "If I can't have it, nobody can. You hear me, Marcus? Nobody." 2 police cars pulled up, sirens blaring. Officers jumped out, and one of them grabbed the gas can from Shanice, while another tackled her to the ground as she fought and screamed. Fire trucks arrived. Firefighters rushed to put out the blaze. I ran to Marcus, pulling him into my arms. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," he coughed. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have seen what she was." We watched as the firefighters brought the garage fire under control. Most of the damage was contained there, but Marcus's car was destroyed, along with boxes of his possessions. Shanice was arrested, still screaming threats and curses, as they put her in the police car. Beverly showed up just as they were taking her daughter away. "This is all your fault," Beverly screamed at me. "You turned my daughter into this. You poisoned Marcus against her." Officer Simmons, who had responded to the call, stepped between us. "Ma'am, you need to step back. Your daughter just committed arson and attempted assault. She's looking at serious prison time. I suggest you get a lawyer instead of making threats." Beverly's face twisted with rage, but she backed off. Mr. Thompson arrived, summoned by a call from Marcus. He surveyed the scene and shook his head. "Mrs. Hayes, Marcus, I think we need to have a serious conversation about next steps. This situation has escalated beyond civil fraud. We're talking criminal charges now." That night, Marcus stayed with me again. We sat up late, talking about everything, about how Shanice had slowly isolated him from his friends, how she'd always had an excuse for why they needed money, how she'd made him feel guilty for having a close relationship with me. She said you were controlling me, Marcus said, that you wanted to keep me dependent on you. But it was her. She was the controlling one. I just couldn't see it. Love makes us blind sometimes, I said. That wasn't love, Marcus said bitterly. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't love. The next morning, Mr. Thompson called with more news. The police tracked the phone number that called you, claiming to be Danny Chen. It was registered to a man named Curtis Washington. He's Beverly's boyfriend. He's agreed to cooperate in exchange for a lighter sentence. He's giving statements about the whole scheme. What about Kevin? I asked. Kevin's in Atlantic City. He has no idea his sister was using his gambling problem to run a con. He really does owe $50,000 to the casinos, and he really is in trouble. But he never signed any papers mentioning you or your condo. That was all fabricated. Over the next week, the full scope of the scheme came out. Shanice and Beverly had been planning this for months. They'd researched me, found out about the condo, and calculated its value. They'd coached Curtis on what to say to make me afraid. They'd even created fake documents that made Kevin's debt look much larger than it was. Their plan had been simple: get me to sell the condo in a panic, take the $3 million, give Kevin enough to cover his real debts, and split the rest between them. Then Beverly would move to Florida, Shanice would divorce Marcus after a respectful period, and they'd both live well on their stolen money. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd assumed I was a weak-old woman who would cave under pressure. They'd underestimated me. The district attorney called me personally. Mrs. Hayes, we're going to prosecute this to the fullest extent of the law. Attempted fraud, extortion, making terroristic threats, arson, assault. Between Shanice and Beverly and Curtis, we're looking at serious prison time for all of them. What about Kevin? I asked. Kevin's not being charged in connection with this scheme. He's dealing with his own legal issues related to his gambling debts, but he wasn't part of his mother and sister's plan. In fact, he's pretty upset about it. He sent you a letter if you want to read it. I did read it. Kevin's letter was apologetic and ashamed. He said he'd been trying to get help for his gambling problem, that he'd had no idea his family was using his situation to hurt others, and that he was sorry I'd been dragged into his mess. It seemed genuine. Marcus filed for divorce. His lawyer said it would be straightforward given Shanice's arrest and the circumstances. Everything Shanice had tried to claim in the divorce, Marcus fought. And with Mr. Thompson's help, Marcus protected his assets. But the real shock came 2 weeks after Shanice's arrest. I got a call from a woman named Detective Lisa Morrison. Mrs. Hayes, I'm investigating your daughter-in-law and her mother for a separate case. I need to ask you some questions. Separate case? You're not the first person they've tried this on, Detective Morrison said. We've found evidence that Beverly and Shanice have been running variations of this scam for years. Different stories, different targets, but always the same basic scheme. Identify someone with assets, create a crisis, and pressure them to hand over money. You were just the latest victim, but you were also the first one to fight back and expose them. I sat down, stunned. How many others? We're still investigating, but at least 5 that we know of, mostly elderly people, mostly family members, or people who married into the family. Beverly's been doing this since she was young. She taught Shanice. It's how they've survived. Did anyone pay? 2 did, Detective Morrison said quietly. An elderly uncle paid $50,000 5 years ago. A former boyfriend paid $20,000 before that. But Mrs. Hayes, because you fought back and documented everything, you've helped us build a case that's going to put them away for a long time. You may have saved other people from being victimized. That Sunday, I went to church. Pastor Williams asked me to share my testimony, and I did. I told the whole congregation what had happened, how close I'd come to losing everything, and how standing firm in my faith and trusting in justice had saved me. Sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the worst, I said. But God gives us strength to stand firm. He gives us wisdom to see the truth. And He gives us courage to fight back against evil, even when it wears a familiar face. The congregation erupted in amens and applause. Afterward, at least a dozen people came up to me with their own stories of family members who'd tried to manipulate or steal from them. You inspired me, one elderly sister said. My nephew's been pressuring me to change my will. After hearing your story, I'm going to stand firm. That money is mine, and I'll decide what happens to it. That evening, Marcus and I had dinner together. Just the 2 of us, like old times. Mom, he said, I need to say something. I failed you. When you needed me most, I chose Shanice over you. I let her manipulate me. I even pressured you to give up your security for her lies. I don't know if I can ever make that right. I reached across the table and took his hand. Marcus, you were manipulated by someone you loved. That's not weakness, that's being human. What matters is that you saw the truth eventually. You stood up, you protected me, and you're here now. I love you, Mom, he said, tears in his eyes, and I'm never letting anyone come between us again. 3 days later, I got a call that made my blood run cold for an entirely different reason. It was Mr. Thompson, and his voice was strange, excited but also concerned. Mrs. Hayes, you need to sit down for this. My investigator found something while digging into Beverly's background. Something about your condo, something you need to know right away. What is it? The land your condo is built on. Mrs. Hayes, there's a development company that's been buying up that whole block. They've been offering premium prices, double the market value to acquire the properties. They've bought every unit in your building except yours. They've been trying to contact you for months, but what? But someone's been intercepting your mail. We found a stack of letters in Beverly's apartment. Letters from the development company offering you $7 million for your condo. $7 million, Mrs. Hayes. She knew. She and Shanice knew the whole time. That's why they wanted you to sell it quickly through their agent for $3.5 million. They were going to pocket the difference. I couldn't breathe. $7 million. They'd tried to steal $7 million from me, and that wasn't even the worst part. Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Thompson continued, his voice tight. The development company's final offer letter is dated for this Friday. If you don't respond by then, they're moving forward with their project, and your property gets locked into a legal battle that could take years. You need to make a decision now." I stared at my phone, Mr. Thompson's words echoing in my head. $7 million. They'd tried to steal $7 million from me while making me think I was being generous by accepting $3.5 million. "Mrs. Hayes, are you still there?" Mr. Thompson asked. "I'm here," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "What do I need to do?" "I need you to come to my office right now. We need to review the development company's offer and respond before Friday. That's tomorrow, Mrs. Hayes. We have less than 24 hours. I called Marcus, and within 30 minutes we were sitting in Mr. Thompson's downtown office, looking at documents that would change my life forever. The development company, Horizon Properties, wanted to build a luxury mixed-use complex on the block where my condo sat. They'd been buying up properties for 2 years, offering prices that were double or triple the market value. My condo, because of its location on the corner, was the keystone property. Without it, their entire project would be compromised. "They're offering $7 million, Mr. Thompson said, spreading the papers across his desk. "Cash sale, closing in 30 days. Mrs. Hayes, this is a legitimate offer from a reputable company. I've verified everything." Marcus was reading through the documents, his face a mixture of anger and amazement. "Mom, do you understand what this means? Shanice and her mother knew about this. They were going to steal over $3 million from you on top of the 3 they were demanding. This wasn't just fraud. This was evil," I finished. "Pure evil." "The question is," Mr. Thompson said, "what do you want to do? You can accept their offer, or you can negotiate for more. Given that you're the final holdout and they need your property, you have significant leverage." I thought about that condo, the place I'd bought with my own sweat and tears 27 years ago. The investment that represented my independence, my security, my promise to myself that I'd never be helpless. And now it was worth $7 million. "I want to accept," I said. $7 million is more than fair, more than I ever dreamed. Mr. Thompson nodded. "I'll contact them immediately. But Mrs. Hayes, there's something else you should know. The district attorney wants to add additional charges against Shanice and Beverly: mail fraud, conspiracy to commit grand larceny, and identity theft for intercepting your correspondence. With these new charges, they're looking at 10 to 15 years in prison each." "Good," I said, and I meant it. They need to face justice for what they did, not just to me, but to everyone they've hurt. The trial was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, my life transformed in ways I never expected. The sale of my condo went through smoothly. $7 million minus taxes and fees left me with almost $5 million in the bank. More money than I'd ever imagined having. But money wasn't the only thing that changed. Marcus moved back home temporarily while his divorce was finalized, and he looked for a new place. Having him in the house again, seeing him every morning at breakfast, reminded me of when he was young. Except now he was humbler, wiser, and more appreciative. "Mom," he said one morning over coffee, "I've been thinking about everything that happened. About how I let Shanice manipulate me. I think I need to talk to someone, a therapist. I need to understand how I got so lost." "That's very mature of you," I said, squeezing his hand. "And Mom, I want to pay you back. For all the times I pressured you about the condo, I know I can't undo what I said, but I want to make it right." "You already have," I told him, "by being here, by standing up when it mattered most, by choosing truth over lies. That's all I ever wanted." The trial finally came. The courthouse was packed, not just with lawyers and court officials, but with other victims that Detective Morrison had found. Elderly people who'd been scammed by Beverly over the years. People who'd lost their savings, their homes, their peace of mind. I sat in the witness stand, my hand on the Bible, and told my story. Every detail. The threats, the manipulation, the fake phone calls, the arson. The courtroom was silent except for my voice. When I finished, the prosecutor asked, "Mrs. Hayes, why didn't you just pay them? Why did you fight back?" I looked directly at Shanice and Beverly, both sitting at the defense table in orange jumpsuits. Because what they were asking me to do wasn't just give up money. It was give up my dignity, my independence, my right to control my own life. I'm 65 years old. I worked hard for everything I have. And nobody, not even family, has the right to take that from me. The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge had to bang his gavel to restore order. Shanice's lawyer tried to paint her as a desperate woman who'd made a mistake. Beverly's lawyer claimed she was just trying to help her struggling son. But Curtis, who'd agreed to testify against them, destroyed their defense. "They planned everything," Curtis said from the witness stand. Beverly showed me Mrs. Hayes's bank statements that she'd stolen from her house. She showed me information about the condo and the development company's offer. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were going to take $7 million from an old woman and leave her with nothing. And they laughed about it. Beverly said, "Old people are the easiest marks. They're too scared to fight back." I saw Shanice's face go pale. Beverly just stared straight ahead, her jaw clenched. Marcus testified too. He told the court about how Shanice had isolated him from me, how she'd manipulated him, how she'd lied about everything. His voice broke when he said, "She made me believe my own mother was being selfish." She almost destroyed the most important relationship in my life. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Shanice was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Beverly got 15 years. Curtis, because he cooperated, got 3 years. When the judge read the sentences, Shanice finally broke. She started crying, begging for mercy. I'm sorry. Please, I didn't mean for it to go this far." But the judge was unmoved. "Ms. Wright, you systematically planned to defraud and terrorize an elderly woman. You manipulated your own husband. You committed arson. You've shown no genuine remorse until this moment, when you're facing consequences. This court has no sympathy for you." As they led her away, Shanice looked at me one last time. The hatred in her eyes was chilling, but I didn't look away. I stared right back at her, and I hoped she saw the strength in my eyes. The strength she'd tried to break, but never could. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me. Apparently, the case had gotten media attention. "Elderly woman fights back against family scam" was the headline in the local paper. "Mrs. Hayes, what message do you have for other people who might be facing similar situations?" a reporter asked. I thought carefully before answering. Stand firm in your truth. Don't let anyone not even family, bully you into giving up what's rightfully yours. And if something feels wrong, trust that feeling. God gave us instincts for a reason. That night, Vivian threw me a celebration dinner at her house. She invited everyone from church, and Pastor Williams said a special prayer of thanksgiving. Sister Loretta stood in the face of evil and didn't back down, he said. She's an example to all of us of what it means to have faith and courage. Let's give God the glory. The room erupted in amens and hallelujahs. Sister Patterson, the church elder, pulled me aside later. Loretta, I need to apologize to you. Beverly came to me months ago, asking questions about you, about your finances. I thought she was just making conversation, but I told her things I shouldn't have, about Robert's life insurance, about your properties. I feel like I helped her plan this whole thing. I hugged her. Sister Patterson, you didn't know. And besides, their plan failed. God turned it around for good. You're a better woman than me, she said, wiping her eyes. I don't know if I could forgive like that. But forgiveness, I was learning, wasn't about them. It was about me. It was about not letting their evil poison my heart. 2 months after the trial, Marcus came to me with news. Mom, my divorce is final. Everything's settled, and I found a new place. It's a townhouse about 10 minutes from here. That's wonderful, I said, even though part of me was sad. I'd gotten used to having him around again. There's something else, Marcus said, sitting down across from me. I've been doing a lot of thinking about my life, my choices, my future. And Mom, I want to start a foundation, using some of my own money to help elderly people who are being scammed or abused by family members. Legal help, counseling, resources. I want to turn what happened to you into something that helps others. Tears filled my eyes. Marcus, that's beautiful. I was hoping you'd help me run it, he said. You have the experience, you have the story, and Mom, you have the heart for it. What do you say? I didn't even have to think about it. Yes, absolutely yes. We called it the Loretta Hayes Justice Foundation, and within 6 months, we'd helped 15 families facing similar situations. Elderly parents being pressured by adult children. Grandparents being scammed by their own grandkids. People who felt trapped and alone just like I had. Every person we helped, I told them the same thing. You have the right to control your own life. You have the right to say no, and you have the right to be treated with respect, no matter who's asking. One woman, a 72-year-old grandmother named Mrs. Johnson, hugged me with tears streaming down her face. You saved my life, she said. My daughter was trying to take my house. I thought I had to let her because she's my child. But you showed me I could fight back. You showed me I mattered. That's when I knew that everything I'd been through had a purpose. The pain, the fear, the betrayal, it all led to this. To helping others find their strength. Kevin, surprisingly, reached out to me about a year after the trial. He'd gotten help for his gambling addiction and had been sober from gambling for 10 months. He'd paid off his legitimate debts by selling his possessions and working 3 jobs. Mrs. Hayes, he said when we met for coffee, I can't apologize enough for the role my problems played in what my mother and sister did to you. I know I can't make it right, but I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to break the cycle. That's all any of us can do, I told him. Break the cycles, be better than what hurt us. Kevin started volunteering at the foundation, talking to families about the dangers of gambling addiction and how it can be exploited by others. Meanwhile, I used part of my money to buy a beautiful new condo in a senior community. It had everything I needed: security, community, activities. But more importantly, it was mine, truly mine. Bought with money that no one could claim or question. I gave generously to my church. I set up college funds for my friends' grandchildren. I donated to causes that mattered to me, and I invested wisely, ensuring that I'd be comfortable for the rest of my life. But the best thing I did with my money was take Marcus on a trip. We went to Ghana, tracing our roots, visiting the places our ancestors came from. We stood in the door of no return and wept together. We celebrated at festivals and learned about our heritage. "Mom," Marcus said on our last night in Accra, watching the sunset over the ocean, "thank you for not giving up. On yourself, on me, on us." "I could never give up on you," I said. "You're my son, my heart, and even when you were lost, I knew you'd find your way back." "Shanice almost destroyed that," he said quietly. "She almost took you away from me forever." "But she didn't," I said, "because our bond is stronger than her lies. Love always wins, Marcus, real love, not the fake kind that manipulates and controls, but the real kind that stands firm and never gives up." 2 years after everything happened, I got a letter from Shanice. She'd found religion in prison, she said. She was sorry for what she'd done. She hoped I could forgive her someday. I read that letter 3 times, feeling nothing but sadness. Not anger anymore, not hurt, just sadness for a woman who'd wasted her life on greed and lies. I didn't write back. Some things don't require a response. But I did pray for her. I prayed that she'd find real redemption, real change. Not just jailhouse religion, but actual transformation. Because at the end of the day, I'd learned that holding on to anger only hurts the person holding it. Shanice was in prison. Beverly was in prison. They'd lost everything. My revenge wasn't adding to their suffering. My revenge was living well, living free, living with joy. The foundation grew. Within 3 years, we'd helped over 200 families. We'd trained lawyers to recognize elder abuse. We'd created support groups. We'd changed laws in our state to make it harder for people to financially exploit their elderly relatives. And I'd found a new purpose, a new community, a new life. Pastor Williams asked me to speak at a women's conference. "Share your testimony," he said. "Let people know that it's never too late to stand up for yourself." So I did. I stood in front of 500 women and told my story. Not just the facts, but the feelings, the fear I'd felt, the betrayal, the moment I almost gave in, and the strength I'd found to fight back. "Ladies," I said, "I'm 68 years old now, and I'm here to tell you that age doesn't make you weak. Experience makes you strong. Every year you've lived, every trial you've survived, every mountain you've climbed, those things don't diminish you. They empower you. Don't let anyone tell you that you're too old to fight. Don't let anyone make you feel like you owe them your peace, your security, or your dignity. You owe yourself those things, and nobody can take them unless you let them." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, women lined up to share their stories. Stories of abuse, manipulation, financial exploitation, stories that broke my heart but also filled me with determination. We were building an army of strong women who refused to be victims, and it was beautiful. Marcus got remarried eventually to a kind, genuine woman named Nicole who worked as a teacher. She had a daughter from a previous marriage, a sweet girl named Zara, who called me Grandma Loretta from the first day we met. And yes, I finally got to be a grandmother. Not through blood, but through love. And that was more than enough. On my 70th birthday, Marcus and Nicole threw me a party. The foundation offices, which we'd rented in a building downtown, were filled with people whose lives we'd touched, families we'd helped, volunteers who'd joined our cause, friends from church, Vivian, of course, right by my side where she'd always been. "Make a speech, Grandma," Zara called out, and everyone cheered. I stood up, looking at all these beautiful faces, and felt overwhelming gratitude. "When I was 65 years old," I began, "someone tried to steal everything from me, not just my money, but my dignity, my peace, my relationship with my son. They almost succeeded, but they forgot one thing. They forgot that I was strong, that I was loved, that I was worthy of respect. They forgot that I mattered, and because they forgot, I won. I didn't just win back my property or my money, I won back my life. And then I used that life to help others win back theirs. So this party isn't just about me turning 70. It's about celebrating everyone in this room who refused to be a victim, who stood up, who fought back, who said, "No more. This is our victory, all of ours." And I thank God for every single one of you. The room erupted in applause and tears. That night, after everyone left, and it was just me and Vivian cleaning up, my best friend put her arm around me. "You did good, Loretta," she said. "Real good." "We did good," I corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "That's what sisters are for," Vivian said. "Real sisters, not the fake ones who try to rob you blind." We laughed, and it felt good. It felt like freedom. I drove home that night through my city, past the block where my old condo used to stand. The new development was beautiful, all glass and steel and modern design. Where my corner unit had been, there was now a public plaza with a fountain and benches. And on one of those benches sat a plaque. Marcus had arranged it without telling me. It read, "Loretta Hayes Plaza, dedicated to a woman who stood firm in the face of adversity and taught us all that it's never too late to fight for what's right." I sat on that bench for a long time, watching the fountain, listening to the city sounds, feeling the peace that comes from knowing you survived. You fought, you won, and that peace, I realized, was worth more than any amount of money. That was my real victory, not the $7 million, not the foundation. Not even the justice of seeing Shanice and Beverly go to prison. My real victory was peace, freedom, the knowledge that I'd stood up for myself when it mattered most, that I'd broken the cycle of manipulation and abuse, that I'd turned my pain into purpose. And as I sat there on that bench with my name on it, I whispered a prayer of thanksgiving. Thank you for the strength to stand. Thank you for the courage to fight. Thank you for the wisdom to know my worth. And thank you for the grace to forgive, because I had forgiven them. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. And peace, I'd learned, is the sweetest revenge of all. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.